and it has, this is a marshmallow. It's all homemade frosting. The whole thing is homemade. The strawberries are easy. You're just taking your chocolate morsels, whatever brand you'd like to use, melting them down and dipping your strawberries in them, letting it harden up, and putting them on top of your cake.
Beautiful.
And these
famous ribs.
Yeah, these are crock pot ribs, and it's a homemade barbecue sauce. And every man that eats these loves them. Okay, they're basically very tender, and you're doing the whole thing in a crock pot. It takes you probably 5-10 minutes to make the homemade barbecue sauce, and the ribs 6 hours in a crock pot. You come home from work, and you've got a meal halfway prepared for you. So.
The beauty of the crock pot.
Yep.
You have, what do you use, pork ribs?
I use the country style pork ribs. Yep.
Okay. And can you just tell us what's in the sauce?
There is honey, there's brown sugar, there's ketchup. I mean, it's very basic ingredients, but it's so good. I think it's better than any of the bottled, barbecue sauces that you get. And you have to try it, and you let me know.
And you make a little extra to slather on the ribs afterwards.
So you're putting the ribs in the crock pot, no water in there at all, and then you put the sauce on top, cover it, go to work, come back. You have a little bit of sauce left over to have, to put on top before you serve it, and that's it.
Yummy.
And this is it's a pumpkin soup, and I've tried pumpkin soups in the past, and they're very bland. And this one isn't. This is a bit of a spicy pumpkin soup, and you still get some of the texture of the onions in it, and so you're getting a texture. It's not just a creamy soup, and it's really good. And I think this would be excellent if you were going to serve like a soup before a Thanksgiving dinner or something. It'll go with the theme, being that it's pumpkin, but it's really a delicious soup.
Now, do you use the blender or food processor for the...
You can, if you want to do things the hard way, you can use, cook your pumpkin and process it in your food processor, but this is just using your canned pumpkin,
Okay. And what kind of spices in there to give that the punch?
It has a tiny bit of curry, and I'm not a big fan of curry, so I only put a tiny bit of curry, but you have some hot pepper flakes you can put in there. It's just really, I can't even describe it. You'd have to taste it, but it's such a good recipe.
I know what you mean about squash-based and pumpkin-based food sometimes can be...
kind of bland.
Sort of bland.
But this one isn't. This is really good.
Great. Pumpkin with pizzazz.
And this is just showing you, too, how this is a cake that you're doing... You're putting your decorations in the bottom of the pan. So you have your brown sugar, your pineapple, your cherries, and then you're pouring your cake batter on top of that, and then you're baking it. And then when you flip it over, it's already pre-decorated for you,
That's lovely.
So that's all you have to do, and it's finished. And that's a really delicious cake, too.
Now, what do you put in there to get it out of the pan easily, or that's the part everybody worries about with pineapple
what the trick is?
cake.
Anytime you make a round cake, it's always hard. When you flip it over, pieces are stuck to the bottom of the pan and stuff, is to take a piece of parchment paper, and you're going to cut it to the same size as the bottom of your pan. You can spray some oil in there, put the parchment paper down, and then spray it again and along the edges. And you will never have anything stick. So you'll flip it over, the parchment paper will come out right on top of your cake, and you just peel that off.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Never fail upside down cake.
This is, it's called a 5-cup salad, and it's so easy. It's 5 cups of, you have your mandarin oranges, you have marshmallows, you have coconut, you have sour cream, and you have pineapple. And all you're doing, the hardest part of this recipe is opening the can.
My kind of recipe.
I did this one at Easter because it looks kind of Eastery.
It does. It does. Well, this is one of the ones that we did in the demo.
Yeah, this is the sweet with heat. That was the apricot jam, apple jam, apricot preserves, and the apple jelly, and mixed with the horseradish and the country Dijon mustard, and we just mixed that together. And you would think horseradish and jelly, it's a terrible combination to think of it, but once you taste it, it's nothing like you expect. And it's just on a block of the cream cheese, and you serve it with crackers.
And you could use the Neustaffel or the third less fat in the cheese kind of
absolutely.
option
Even,
there.
You know, sugar-free jam and jelly, you know.
Feel like you're getting away with something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the cookbook with the family connection recipes.
Yeah.
Now, you have a day job, so you're doing this cookbook sort of. You did the cookbook sort of in your free time, and now you've been showing people some of the recipes and publicizing the cookbook and everything. Tell us a little bit about what you do for your regular job, your regular work.
Well, I work for Orthopedic Associates of Hartford, and I work for a trauma surgeon. His name is Dr. Nagarkati, which is interesting. I love science. I love working, you know, for the group. And this is kind of an outlet for me doing the book. You know, promoting it is a learning process, what I'm doing. But I really enjoy it, you know. I love the fact that doing the book, you're basically working from home. You know, you're cooking out of your home. It's a relaxed atmosphere. You know, it's enjoyable.
And there's a creative process to developing recipes. Some of your recipes are ones that you've tweaked over time, right?
Yeah, I think the main mistake people make is they'll get a recipe, they'll put it together, they don't taste it first, and then they serve it to people. And if they tasted it first, they would know, you know, I think I should add something else to this because I really don't like this, you know? I mean, so many times we've brought something or made something on a special occasion and it was really tasted awful, you know? But, and they, like with soups and stews, you can't just put them together. You have to constantly be tasting it as you're building it and trying to figure out what you think it needs. You know, does it need more salt? Does it need, you know, even a little bit of sugar? You want it a little sweeter, maybe. You know, but that's really the trick, is just the tasting. Give
the cook the freedom of trying to make the recipe their own and experiment.
And then you
a little
come
bit.
up with different ideas too. And you think, well, geez, you know, that was pretty good, but maybe I'd like to add, you know, something else to it, mashed potatoes, to give it a better texture or something like that.
Right.
You know?
I think you said that on the dill and salmon dip recipe. You added some dill over time. You increased the dill there.
Yeah, because I really love the flavor of the dill, especially if you're doing like a vegetable dip or something like that. If it doesn't have a lot of it, doesn't have a lot of flavor. And I think you want to, when you put something in your mouth, you want it to say, oh my God, that's good. You know, you have to have that reaction. So I think that's what I'm going for, is just trying to get a very flavorful dish, you know.
And your recipes, by and large in the book, are pretty accessible for even the inexperienced cook.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of ingredients, and for the most part, you can make them pretty easily. You offer some shortcuts.
Yeah. I mean, you think I'm a working mother, you know, I have a farm too, so it's like you don't want it to be a big chore to be making something, you know, and you know, a lot of recipes will say, well, you know, you add your flour mixtures together first, then add your liquids, and it ends up being a big process where actually you don't have to do that, you know, you could just add everything and it's done, you know. So it's kind of geared for the working women too, you know.
I like the way that it's not that sort of off-putting, oh my gosh, you've got to do everything from scratch, but yet you can if you want.
Right. And I noticed that when you, like if I look at cookbooks, you have to like really read through the recipe to see what temperature the oven's set at. You know, this way in the cookbook I put it right there on the top, so you know, preheat your oven.
Because that's the first thing you do, or you know, one of the
the
first things you do. Great. And I think too that there are recipes that you could do with children.
Yeah.
So.
Some of the cookie recipes are so easy, you know. Some you don't even have to bake, and the kids can help you roll them into balls and put them in coconut or whatever, you know.
And you have a fine family tradition of great recipes from the bakery.
Yeah, there are a few in there that I've, cucumber salad, a German cucumber salad, which you can't get usually anywhere, and it's, I've been able to recreate that, and it's just perfect. So if you get the book, you'd have to try that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your family recipes in this book and with us today.